Hello, everyone. Conversation between Ukraine and the Middle Eastern countries continues about providing some type of assistance when it comes to defense against Iranian weapons. In this case, Zelensky had spoken to Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman about this whole situation. And yeah, once again, it is acknowledged that Ukraine knows this up, down, sideways, every which way. And my question continues to be, in exchange for what? I really do want to know what Ukrainians are asking. Now, one of the things I know they're asking is more missiles for the Patriot air defense systems. But I'm sure it's not the only thing. I mean, that is high on the list, but I'm sure it is not the only one. Also, Ukrainian manufacturers of inexpensive interceptor drones say they have the capacity to export them in large volumes. And again, what are the terms of this deal? Here's, just to put this into perspective, why this is important. Right now, everybody involved in the military operations having to fight the drones is having to either scramble the jets, we already know how expensive that is, or use Patriot missiles to fire at the drones. One Patriot advanced capability interceptor costs approximately $4 to $5 million per launch. And it is a question as to whether it's going to take out anything, because these people don't know how to properly aim when it comes to drone swarms. Now, Ukrainian military has been dealing with big, quantities of drones, like hundreds of them at a time, for years now. And these interceptor drones they're talking about, they cost less than $1,000 a piece. Big difference. So again, if Ukrainians help save allied asses in the Middle East, what does that change? And also, there is the little problem of Russia supplying intelligence, supplies, and weapons to Iran, all of which are currently targeted at the U.S. personnel and U.S. allies. Another tanker from Russia's Shadow Fleet has been detained in Sweden. This one was not transporting oil. It is suspected of transported stolen Ukrainian grain, which is pretty damn bad as well, because I'd like to remind everyone that Ukraine doesn't just export grain for sale, although that is true. Ukraine does supply over 15% of the world's corn, 10% of wheat, and 15 to 20% of barley. Now, some of this is not sold, it is given to the developing nations in the Middle East and in Africa. Ironically, some of which support Russia. So, yes, Russia using Shadow Fleet to truck stolen Ukrainian grain is a crime, not just against Ukraine, but also against those countries that benefit from Ukrainian grain. And yeah, in light of Ukraine's offer to help, there are continuing questions about U.S. stockpiles of the necessary weapons, because apparently math is not quite mathing in that area. Meanwhile, the war continues, so we now have more detail about the strike I talked about in Kharkiv. A new type of weapon was used at the time. And this number is outdated, by the way. The number of casualties is now up to 17 as the rescue crews are digging through the rubble. So this was a 5-story building in Kharkiv that was struck by a ballistic missile yesterday. And 2 children were among those killed. Plus, of course, there's plenty of injured. And again, this number has been going up since yesterday as the crews continue their work. This was also part of another large attack, this ballistic missile, that included, Shahed drones, 480 of them, and 29 missiles. And here's some more numbers to remind everyone how skilled the Ukrainian military has gotten. So, huge attack, right? 453 of the 480 drones did get shot down, and 19 missiles. Yes, there were still some left, so that leaves 27 drones and 10 missiles that unfortunately found their targets. But can you imagine, considering the damage that was done by one of those missiles, can you imagine how much worse it would have been if all of these 480 drones and 29 missiles went on to strike their targets? That makes a difference. 2 more people were injured elsewhere in the Kharkiv region. And yeah, this is where I agree with Zelensky. Somebody should do something, help Ukraine, because Russia continues murdering Ukrainian civilians. This continues happening. Plus, there were ballistic missiles launched at Kyiv, and that was targeting some more infrastructure. We do have some positive news, more confirmations from Ukrainian military about halting Russia's offensive in Zaporizhia region. We talked about Zaporizhia a lot, why Russia wants it, and their push to take it. Prior to the full-scale invasion, Zaporizhia was home to over 700,000 people. It is fewer now because many people had to move out west or move abroad because Zaporizhia is one of the big targets. And unfortunately, my family, my parents, could not go anywhere. And so they're still there, and they're getting shelled pretty much every day. And we're back to the whole point I've been making that the best drone is the one that never gets launched. Ukraine had struck another Russian drone storage in the occupied part of the Donetsk region. Russia continues also targeting Ukrainian railroads and trains. There's been a strike against a passenger train in the Sumy region today. There were 200 passengers on board. Fortunately, no one got hurt. Amazingly, so what happened was they struck the locomotive. So basically, the railroad services just swapped the locomotive and the train kept on going, which is kind of amazing and insane at the same time. More to come.